Over the last year or so, I've been hard at work rebuilding my portfolio in Unreal Engine 5, taking it from this to this, and this to this. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how I did it. I'll go through each of my projects, from the initial goals to the things I did to achieve them, and the things I could have done better. But before that, hey, I'm Starman, or Idhant. I'm 25 and I'm super passionate about video games. Re-evaluating myself after my master's degree, I realized my current portfolio quality was not going to cut it and needed an overhaul. Which brings us to the start of the year, and the plan is simple. Focus on core tech skills in both single player and multiplayer, with a focus on C++ without letting the blueprints get away. It took me a while to understand how C++ worked with Unreal and the main game loop, but once I was done, I made a little climbing demo inspired from Breath of the Wild. Before I knew it, there was something that was about to happen that would test my skills and everything I've learned very, very soon. For those who may not know, I'll start by defining what a game jam is. It's an event where a group of game developers gather together and make a game on the same theme in a short amount of time. So me and a programmer friend of mine grouped up together to join the Kenny Jam 2025, and the theme this year was power. So us, being the nerds that we are, decided that it was going to be a night fighting through a dungeon, amassing different kinds of power. Too much of it and you're corrupted, too little of it and you're too weak. My two main personal goals for this jam were to get more comfortable with Unreal's blueprinting system and have a game that people can play. So, with copious amounts of coffee in our hands, we set out over the weekend and we created this. While the game plays in the background, how did we do? All in all, I think the jam went alright. I managed to finish my two personal goals. I released a fully developed game for people to play, and I'm more intimate with Unreal's blueprint than before. I ended up learning so much about programming game flow, boss AI, and animations. But one thing I'm not too happy about is the gameplay itself. We focused so much on the main hook and all the technical aspects of the game that we pulled a little away from what could have been a really fun game. Communicating the main game mechanic to the player is something we struggled with, but I think that's evident with all game jam games, given the time limit we get. However, reflecting back on it now, I do think there are bones of a great game present here, but it needed a bit more oomph. But this is good. Without this project, I wouldn't have had the clarity that I do now. So, with a fully finished Kenny Jam under my hand, I set off to my next big project. The Soulsborne games really need no introduction. These Sisyphean games are full of a rich world, cool boss fights, and tight polished gameplay. And I love these games. Something about a simple act of just dodging and attacking while you fight this eldritch monstrosity over and over again just hits the right spot for me. So in true game developer fashion, it was my turn to make a Soulsborne game. Before developing, I thought I'd analyze what makes a Soulsborne game good. This analysis led me to a few answers, but one of the most resonant reasons was that at its core, the combat loop of learning a boss and then executing until it felt perfect, and the polished combat system facilitating that, is what makes these games so well loved. So post-analysis, here's what I wanted this project to accomplish. Create a tight, responsive, and fast-paced player controller. I want it as close to the Souls series as possible. Create a boss with a varied attack tree, where it feels like you're always on the edge of winning or losing. And finally, create a robust weapon system with varied weapons that are also very familiar. So let's get cooking. First thing on the docket, the player. In Souls games, the player has a bunch of stat points like strength, dexterity, vigor. These points are what tell you how many times you can roll, how much health you have, how much damage you do, and a bunch of other things. So that's what we want our player to have. A lot of attributes, abilities, and interactions that they can trigger. Unreal Engine's gameplay ability system is a framework that allows us to build our attributes, abilities, and interactions that our actor can own and trigger. What this means for us is that our player and our boss both derive their damage values, their health, their speed, all from the same stats. Gas also allows us to give the player an attack combo ability and a roll ability. So now that we can attack, dodge, and walk around, we have our basics of our player controller. Next up, you need something to fight these eldritch horrors with. That's where weapons come in. The two main things are cost and damage. Since I've already talked about this in a standalone video, I'll keep it brief here. The cost is how much stamina you need to do an attack, and the damage is the amount of damage you do on that attack. I also threw in some other fun attributes like the small dagger doing bleed damage that triggers after 3 stacks. Nice, all we now need is a boss. Here's what the attack tree of the boss looks like. We want it to be relatively intense, so our player has to focus on dodging and weaving in and out. I ended up using environmental queries, pawn sensing, custom services, and tasks to make the boss feel more unique. Finally, I handed him a cool weapon, gave him a 3-piece attack combo, and that is my boss done. And with that, this is how the project turned out. So how did that go? All in all, I'm quite happy with how this project went. It allowed me to get super strong with gas abilities, costs, and attributes, but also with AI and gameplay programming. I'm pretty happy with how it feels. The player controller feels exactly like the Souls games, and the weapons feel varied, good, and the combat feels fast. I really enjoyed going back and changing the damage values, cooldowns between each of the attack of the boss, and then testing how that feels, and really getting into the minutiae of the details. Although, if I could add one thing, it would be the ability to play with other players, which coincidentally brings me to the final project. Multiplayer shooters are Unreal's bread and butter, and one of my favorite genres to play. Really, it's the skill expression that comes with these games, so I took my love for fun movement, cool guns, and my love for competitive experience into this last project. Okay, let's do this one last time. The goals for this project are: create clean, fast FPS movement in multiplayer, create a lobby system built with advanced Steam Sessions plugin, and fun to use weapons. So I started with the player movement. Although Unreal's built-in movement system is pretty good, it's not exactly what I want. To get the feeling I wanted, I went in and changed some settings, allowing the player to airstrafe and have momentum play a bigger role. I also decided to add some camera tilt. And just like that, we have some nice feeling movement. Unreal offers a lot when it comes to multiplayer, from its inbuilt multiplayer systems to its extensive support. We can do this in a few ways, but almost all of the solutions require some sort of server-client architecture. For our use case, we use a listen server architecture. One player hosts the server, which acts like the true state of the game, from which the other players take their information. This is then made available for all the other players. They can join in. The server also joins in as a client. Now, yes, the machine hosting the server will have a big advantage over the clients, but with low latency and casual play and small amounts of players, this shouldn't be an issue. Listen servers are also quick to set up, making it a perfect solution for our use case, which requires a lot of prototyping. With that, we have our players running around, chasing each other in the same world. Now all they need is something to shoot each other with. I made a few weapons, but for the sake of time, I'll only talk about two here. The Premier Null Blaster. This is a hit scan weapon, meaning that there's no travel time in its bullets. 4 bullets lets you harness the power of the universe as you create a black hole to mess yourself and the enemy up. Under the hood, this is just a raycast. It tells the server to fire off a line and return exactly what it's colliding with. If it's a player, we damage them, simple as. And our second weapon, an explosive rocket launcher. This is an improvised firework launcher that boasts a broad area of effect explosion that allows for splash damage and even bigger direct hit attack. There's a few things happening under the hood, of course, but the gist of it is wherever the projectile ends up, we just do a box collider check. And if you happen to be in the area, well, let's just hope you bought some anti-ballistic armor. Now that the players can join and host game, shoot each other, and have different weapons, we have our game complete. And that's it, that's the project. For this project in particular, a lot of things went right, but not without its challenges. Tech architecture is something I could have definitely improved upon. Since this was my first look into multiplayer, there was a lot of things that I could have changed. Although the latency is decent and friends from all over the world have joined and tested, optimization is something that I could have done even more. I already have some ideas for refactoring a few things, like with network ownership and replication. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with this project. It feels smooth, fast, and snappy. It's structured in a way where adding more weapons and features is not hard at all. But most importantly, it plays well. Me and my friend ended up playing for so much longer than we anticipated when I was gathering footage for this video. There is still so much I wanted to do with these past projects that didn't make the cut for one reason or another. There was an Arkham-style combat system, a HD 2D game, and many more that I did as an exercise to push myself. But I did reach the goal of upping my overall quality of my portfolio and learned a ton in the process. I've proven to myself that I'm ready for a role in the industry. But if you enjoyed watching this and have a game idea in mind, or even just want to chat, here are my socials, here's my email. Okay, bye!